Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So in this one here, I wanted to do another Q&A video. There was actually quite a bit of questions here that I missed from last time, so I wanted to get into a lot of that here. So if you do want to join or take part in these Q&As, definitely go follow the Discord. The link is in the description. The server name is Appetite for the Dead. I do these once a week. I'm kind of doing one randomly today. I usually do them every single Wednesday, but yeah, just post your questions in there. You know, I do ask for them like every week. You know, I'll post in there saying I'm doing another Q&A. If you have any questions, let me know, kind of thing. So yeah, if you're interested, again, the link is in the description. I do want to apologize because I haven't really necessarily done a lot of videos in the last, like, what has it been? 2 weeks now, I would say. Yeah, exactly 2 weeks now. And a lot of it is, I'll talk about it, I guess, in the vlog that I'm going to be posting this Sunday, which I guess I should mention, if you do want to watch the vlogs that I'm posting and stuff like that, definitely make sure to go join the Patreon. The link's in the description. I post vlogs like every single Sunday. It's usually every Sunday or Monday. It's around there. The vlog coming out right away is episode 5. And again, all the support from you guys has just been absolutely amazing. There's been a lot of progress. This last, like the first month here, I've lost a total of 16 or 18 pounds or something like that. And I feel absolutely incredible right now. There's been a lot of rocky moments, and I've talked about that throughout the entire thing. But yeah, if you're interested though, the Patreon link is in the description. But I mentioned this in the last video, you know, the next couple of months are going to be really intense for Walking Dead content. So I'm kind of appreciative in a sense that I did sort of take a break over the last 2 weeks, because it's going to get really crazy. Because like for the next month, not even month, it's like 20 something days away, the Daryl Dixon show will be premiering then, and that's going to be airing for 6 weeks. And then we have Fear the Walking Dead's last 6 episodes, which, again, the first 6 episodes was kind of fun to watch. The last 6, though, there's going to be a lot more emotional moments here, and there's going to be a lot more excitement because we're watching this show that has been on for 8 years end, right? So it's going to be really interesting to see how it ends, how they say goodbye to a lot of characters. There's going to be a lot of excitement, and throughout all of it, there's going to be a lot of promotion for the next show, which is Rick and Michonne. And that's what's crazy about this. As soon as it's like November 29th or whenever it is, 22nd or the 29th, I don't remember the exact date, the next show that is airing is Rick and Michonne, right? Or The Ones Who Live. So crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. They're obviously, when you're looking at it, they're going to be promoting The Ones Who Live throughout the airing of Daryl Dixon and Fear the Walking Dead, because that's when most people are going to be watching Walking Dead stuff. You want to promote that show so that people can actually see what's coming next, right? Because, you know, if you just focus solely on promoting it throughout the quieter months of you know, when there's no Walking Dead content, you're not reaching as much people. So there's going to be a lot of promotion here. The Daryl Dixon show, they've been promoting quite a bit, especially during Dead City. Like, they really put it out there. So I'm expecting the same exact thing. So just really in a month from now, there's going to be a lot more of The Ones Who Live footage. There's going to be quite a bit of stuff. So I'm excited. So definitely make sure to be a subscriber if you want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. But let's get into the first question here. So Q&A, new to the Discord. I wasn't sure if this question should go here. It isn't specifically about San Diego Comic-Con stuff, but something that has bothered me, and I'm not sure if there's been an answer for it. The phone that Rick leaves that has Michonne and Judith etched into it, how does Rick know what Judith looks like at the time? Last time that we saw her, he saw her, or she was a toddler, right? So let's say that he has seen them from afar while trying to get away from the CRM, etc. Then why doesn't he know he has a son? You would think chances are high that he would have seen them both. Kind of seems like a plot device so Michonne knew he was alive, but doesn't actually make complete sense to me how it could exist. It's bothered me since we saw it. Well, yeah, that's definitely something that people were pointing out a lot then, and it is something that I do wonder about, because when we saw the scene, obviously back then there was so much context, like that was just different, right? The Rick and Michonne scene at the end of the original series obviously wasn't filmed. They had no idea they were going to be doing that. They thought they were going on for years and years and years still, right? So when you're looking at it all, I really do think when they filmed this scene, they probably just kind of assumed that, well, we're just going to throw this in here. It's going to be with Rick's boots, and we're just going to find this phone, and it's going to be, you know, a picture of Michonne and Judith. And the Judith does look a lot like current Judith. And again, that's just one of those things where I think we do just kind of have to ignore, because the thing is, Judith always wore a hat, right? Like, she wore Rick's hat quite a bit because Carl gave it to her, right? So I think it's just one of those things where you just kind of have to assume that that's just sort of what he drew, was just that. Maybe there was some sort of thing where he saw his family beforehand. There's some theories that the CRM is sort of keeping them held captive, or not held captive, but the CRM is threatening that if you escape here, Rick, if you escape and go back to Alexandria or wherever, we're going to go after your entire, you know, community and everything. And so maybe that's a reason why Rick won't leave. And so maybe he saw some footage of them or something like that, right? Because it is one of those things where you do gotta wonder why Rick hasn't escaped yet. Like, he did escape, he was held captive, but you gotta remember, in that scene, Rick was held captive there. The CRM were right there. Like, the helicopter was there. He could have ran. Like, he could have actually ran away, but he was a little scared to. He was just like, well, I can't. They found me now. They're going to get me, right? Because there's going to be a lot of scenes in the first season here, I'm sure, where he's fighting the CRM and he's going to be in a much more dangerous situation because they'll have like weapons and all of that. The situation that Rick was in there, he probably could have escaped, but he probably knows a lot more about the CRM. And so once he was caught, he was probably like, yeah, there's no way I'm getting away now, right? And so there is just some interesting dynamics there with the story and why he can't leave. And like, maybe he did see Judith. In terms of, you know, like, does he know he has a son? Like, I hope that he doesn't know, because I want that to be a really crazy reveal in the first season where Michonne tells him and he's just super excited. But it is hard to say because it's just, again, it's one of those things where I don't think that's going to be a part of the story. I really do think it was just something that they just kind of, I don't know, they thought it was really cool. It was something that was just, it was put there because they thought, well, you know what, it would be really cool if Rick drew this thing and Michonne saw it and she was like, oh my God, like, Rick drew this here. This is a sign, right? I think it is just really that. I think if you remember back then, there was a lot of talk of like, well, maybe Rick didn't draw it, right? Like, it was something like that where maybe someone else did it. And that still could be the case technically, but it's just, at this point, it's kind of hard to say exactly what's happening here. And there's still some stuff where it's like, it doesn't quite make sense. When Rick threw everything there, somehow that phone and all of that got onto a different ship. I'm assuming it's a different ship. It got somewhere else anyways and ended up in a room somewhere in a totally different place. So like, there's still some context and some story that's missing there, but definitely there's a lot of people that are confused by it. I am as well. I do think it's just a little bit of a mistake, and it'll always just be one of those things that just kind of makes no sense in my opinion. Q&A, if Andrew and Denai never left the show, what main characters do you think would have died in the final season? Do you think the show would have ended with season 11? I don't think it would have ended with season 11. I think if anything, if they left the show, they probably would have done something where, I mean, it depends, right? Because they only ended The Walking Dead because of streaming rights. It was more of a business thing. So maybe the show actually ends there and then they do spinoffs and stuff like that, right? If they never left the show, we definitely wouldn't be getting this show right now, right? Like, we wouldn't be getting the spinoffs and etc. Or at least with Rick and Michonne. There wouldn't be this whole expanded universe of everything else with the Civic Republic and all of that. I mean, I guess maybe they do find a way to keep the Civic Republic around in some way, like, you know, just try to find a way to have the CRM a big plot, but Rick and Michonne might not have been a part of it. And if Rick did stay on the show the entire time, there's a good chance that Michonne may have died in season 10, right? Like, if they're giving Michonne anyways, like, Andrea's comic death, they might have stuck to the comics a little bit more there, which would have meant Rick died in season 11 then, right? At the very end, he might have had his comic death, which would have been really sad. But in that way, honestly, like, when you look at it overall, if Andrew Lincoln would have just stayed for an extra 2 seasons, which I know is a lot, but like, you could have had a lot of really epic moments, right? Like, you could have killed Michonne off and gave her that really epic death that Andrea had in the comic, and obviously Rick just being completely destroyed afterwards. That would have been just insane to see, right? Like, that would have all been, like, that would have been the season 10 finale. And then early in season 11, we would have saw Rick just sort of very destroyed and very upset and just kind of sleeping by her grave all the time. And then the Commonwealth are introduced. You sort of go through that whole arc and he starts to really become very like fighting for the people. And he starts to really do things like that. And then in the end, obviously, he dies by Sebastian. And then they raise the statue of him, right? I think in a sense that would have been a really epic ending. It would have really fit those two characters so well, like so well. But you also look at it overall and you're like, well, I'm kind of excited they have this more expanded story and that they are still alive to actually do more stuff right in the story, because there's probably a lot more epic stuff here, right? There's going to be a lot of really cool Rick and Michonne scenes with them fighting the Civic Republic and all of that. Q&A, do you think that Negan technically becoming a villain again pretty much confirms his death? Or do you think they will keep him alive after everything that will happen? Ah, man, it's so hard to say with him because he is such a big character. Do you kill him off at some point? Like, you kind of have to, I guess. It's just so hard to picture right now. Like, I can't picture a world where Negan is not a part of The Walking Dead. It's so hard to say. In terms of him becoming a villain again, he is, and there's going to be those moments in season 2 where it's like, okay, so this is Savior Negan again, right? Like, he's full on a villain, but there's going to be like these moments where he kind of, after this crazy thing that he does, you're going to see that he's torn by it. And he's just like, I don't want to really necessarily be doing this anymore, because we saw that side to him, obviously, in season 1. He does enjoy it, but that's not necessarily who he is. And the difference here is that he's being forced to do this by the Dama. So I think it's going to be one of those things where I don't know if he's necessarily becoming a full-on villain again. Like, he is kind of, he does have that side to him. He's probably going to like it, but he's also, there's a lot more complexity there, right? Because he's also being forced to do it. He's not here by his own choice. He's not doing this because it's a place that he believes in sort of growing to new heights and to have all this power and all of that. He's being made to stay here, right? So I think we'll see how that kind of plays out. Q&A, back in season 2 with the whole Randall situation, do you think Randall's little group could have been a part of the Saviors? Randall said something to Shane about they have a lot of people just like Shane who are strong. This was something that we talked about a lot back then too. Or not back, I'm not saying back in season 2, but like during the Savior arc, we talked about that a lot. We were wondering if like the Vatos gang were killed by the Saviors. There was a whole thing that we talked about this a lot, and Randall, I know, came up in a lot of this stuff. So it's kind of cool that this stuff is still out there to this day, but who knows? Maybe it's possible. I think at this point, though, it's, you know, The Walking Dead has introduced so many new groups, so many new people. I think that's really just all it is. He was just a part of another group that was pretty well off, and obviously would have been a little scary to kind of deal with, right? In terms of him being part of the Saviors, I think it's just a little too crazy. You know, I think that is something that they could have introduced maybe back in season 7 and 8 instead of Morales. Like, I feel like the whole Randall situation made a little bit more sense. Like, you had maybe some kind of connection, or maybe you did something in season 8 where you ran to somebody and you learned that his son was Randall or something like that. You know, that made more sense than Morales showing up so randomly and then dying immediately. He literally came back for a quick scene that they probably filmed within really just that one day. They probably filmed and they were done. So yeah, you know, I think that I don't think he was a part of the Saviors. I just don't really see it, but it's fun to talk about though, for sure. Q&A, back in episode 23 of The Walking Dead season 11, do you think Roman, Calhoun, and Shira could have possibly left with the Civic Republic or CRM, because we didn't see any of them die in that episode or the final episode? I'm pretty sure they died. Oh yeah, one of the mods, Amir here, says that Roman was shown dead, or we saw a body. I do believe they actually did die. Like, there was a reference in one of the episodes. I don't remember exactly where it was, but I do believe they actually did die. It's just that, again, you got to remember in season 11, there was so much that they had to cut out, and so much that they probably didn't even bother to film or get to, because they had to wrap up so much stuff. They had to say goodbye to so many people, so many characters, that it just got to the point that a lot of the side characters, and not even necessarily side characters, but a lot of the like background characters that would show up here and there, they just kind of had to just kind of fade away. Like, everyone makes jokes right now about Virgil, because yeah, where did he go? We saw him, you know, him and Connie and Kelly, and I don't remember who else was there, but they all made it back to Alexandria. Obviously, we saw Connie and Kelly later on, but Virgil just disappeared. Where did Virgil go? It's so random. It's so just like, where did he go? So I think in terms of those characters, you know, at the Commonwealth, I think they just really couldn't show us a lot of scenes. And so that's why we got that. Like, they had to rush through a lot. And I think with what we did get, they did do a really good job with it in terms of the pacing. That's the one thing that I will say about it all. Like, there was so much they had to get through. And as much as it did feel like they were rushing through a lot, in certain moments didn't mean as much. Overall, it was very, very well paced. It's a really weird thing. It's kind of both. Q&A, do you think that The Walking Dead was better off having the shocking / gruesome deaths of the main characters of the group, because it was adding some twists and shock to the fans? For example, Noah's death. He was a beloved character, but his death was sudden and tragic for the viewers, but was still taken well in the end because the viewers thought it was a good time to end the character's storyline. Because these days, you don't really expect another Noah's death happening to some main characters like Ezekiel or Yumiko, because the writers are scared of the backlash that might happen, similar to Glenn and Carl. This is definitely like, yeah, this is a huge discussion, I would say. Like, for sure, I think that The Walking Dead was better when they killed off characters like that. It is one of those things that people were complaining a lot about. I mean, really starting in season 8, I know they killed off Carl and all of that, but that was just more of the wrong choice. It wasn't that he was so popular. It was more that was just such a wrong choice. Like, Carl would still be so valuable to the story right now, but they killed him off and you can't do a lot. Like, imagine if he was still around right now. He'd be an adult. He'd be in his early 20s or something like that. And, you know, with Rick gone, like, there's just so much that you can do there. there's so much, like, imagine that, Rick and Carl, like Carl, you know, he thought that his dad died many, many years ago kind of thing. And just imagine if then he finds out he's still alive, and just, does he try and go save him at the Pacific Republic? Is Carl in the Rick and Michonne show, right? Like, there's just a lot of things. Also, I probably think that he wouldn't be. I think they would still keep him in Alexandria, but I do think that that was just a wrong decision in general. And so when you look back at some of the characters that they should have killed off, yeah, they really stayed away from it quite a bit in recent years. Rosita's death was supposed to be the big death of the season, which obviously was a bigger death. It was definitely a very sad and just really emotional death. I cannot watch that scene. I really can't watch that scene. But there were a lot of characters that should have died. I think Gabriel should have died in season 10. I really do. I think he should have got his comic death at the end of the Whisperer War. It was a very iconic scene in the comics. It would have really made the Whisperer War truly, truly epic, just because Beta gets to do that death, right? And then obviously doing something with Negan and Daryl and Beta fighting, having a more epic scene, I think would have been way more amazing. So to go back to what you're talking about in terms of gruesome deaths and all that, yes, I think for sure they should do that more and more often. And it is sad, I know, you know, to say goodbye to some characters like that, but I still think it does serve the story. As long as you're not doing it for shock and then just, you know, to create shock and all of that, and it has a role in the story, then you can really make those characters truly awesome. Like Noah is one of those characters that you just look back on and you're like, he was such a great character, right? But anyways, I'm gonna leave it here. Make sure to post our thoughts down below. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.